Hello and welcome back to my beginner's tutorial to UTAU. In the last video I showed you how to record a voice bank using Ormo. As you can see, I also have a complete voice bank recorded right here. Now, looking at just your samples, you might think, hey, I can totally make I can totally just put it into my UTAU and just let it sing, right? Not quite. For example, opening the World is Mine file we had before, I already have it set on my voice bank that I recorded, but if chances are you didn't, so just go here to voice bank, click here, and search for the folder where you saved your voice bank. Click OK. Okay. Now that we have our voice bank selected, let's see what happens when we select a part and try to play it. You can see that the resample is taking a bit longer to render our section now. I will get back to why it does that later. Now, I think everyone can admit that sounded pretty shit. That's because even though we have all the samples, the program does not know how to work with the samples yet. That's because an essential part of a voice bank is missing, the UTAU file. The UTAU file is basically a guideline for the program to work with the samples that you gave it. To make an UTAU, you need to go to Tools, then Voice Setting, and then this window opens. You might have seen this before in a previous video. And basically here's how you make an UTAU. You click Launch Editor, and right as you open it, you see a WAV file of your sample, and here you see some colored bars. If you drag one, you can see that here in the window before that, numbers appear and change as you move the bars. That's because these are indicators for your parameters that the program uses to work with your samples. This right here is a pre-utterance. It's basically the part that is shoved in front of the actual note here, and does not contribute to the actual length of the note. This here is the overlap. It basically indicates how much of the whole pre-uttered part is going to blend in with the previous note to make like a smooth transition between them. Drag it again and you get this pink space here. This is a consonant. It's basically the part that will not be influenced by tempo, note length, and other stuff. Basically giving kind of the part a bit of an immunity, although it is still influenced by pitch. You should probably know that the consonant needs to cover these two. So no matter what happens, these two need to be pink. Now if you drag it again, you get this blue space here. This is the offset. Basically everything that's in here is going to be completely disregarded when the resampler renders the file. It's really handy if you have, like me, have like a huge space in front of it, and or like, you know, the file is a bit set off, so be free to use it. if you go to the right side and drag there, there's another blue space. This is the cutoff. It's basically there to cut off like unnecessary sounds that are after the sample. And just place it somewhere where it's natural. As for the pre-utterance, the overlap, and the consonant should, well, cover the consonant, obviously. Maybe a bit of the vowel. The pre-utterance should be about the end of the consonant, and the overlap should be around the middle of that, as you can see here. There are many different ways to auto, even the same just recording style. There are many ways to auto a CV voice bank, and kind of like with the recording styles, there's debate on how to do it best and how it sounds the best. But it kind of, in my opinion, it kind of depends on personal taste. This is how I do it, but don't you should take how I do it with a bit of a grain of salt, because I'm not the best auto there is, and there are probably people who know better than me. Now, all this dragging and, going through these files might seem a bit tedious to people, which is understandable because it kind of is. But there is a way to make it, in a way, better, easier. Now, you do that with a program called SetParam. Here we go. Remember this page with where we downloaded Audible? Right underneath this, I told you we will need SetParam later. This is the later I was talking about. So click it. Click the ScourgeForge. And click the English version. What SetParam is, it's basically a program that was especially tailored to make auto files for UTAU voice banks easier, or like making one easier. So click it, download it, just like the OREMO file. I already have it here. Yeah, here. And just click the .exe file. Immediately it will ask where the voice bank is you want to auto. It's already set here for my result folder. When you first start it up, it doesn't immediately go there, so just go through all this and just find the folder you want. Click OK. It will immediately ask you if there's already an auto file you want to use, or if you want to generate one. I wouldn't recommend generating one yet, just load it up. Open it. And we have this here. So this is the interface. There are several tools you can use, but personally I don't really use those. There's also again generators to generate, autos automatically, but I personally prefer doing it by hand. Just because generators, especially with CV, tend to not really be accurate, so I prefer doing it like by hand. Now that we have this open though, what does I'm sorry. Now that we have it open though, what is easier about SetParam? Well, starting off, the interface is a lot more user-friendly in a way, because you don't need to click any buttons. You don't have like you don't really have to drag. Like, you can still drag the things here, as you can see. but most of it is done with button presses. In this case, the F keys. So if you press F1 and just go to a part of the file, it immediately just jumps there. You don't need to drag, which may be better for the hand because you don't need to drag it out so much. It feels better. It's easier on the wrist. So you just then you need like the first one is a cutoff. F1 is the cutoff. Then you want to do the F4. That's F5. F5 is the cutoff. This is the offset, not the cutoff. F4 is a consonant, so place a consonant. F2 is the overlap, and F3 is the preutterance. It's a bit faster than dragging it out, but and if you want to move on to the next file, you just scroll down, which is like a lot more intuitive than continuously pressing a button. This is, you use both hands, it's easier to coordinate in a way. So I would generally recommend SetParam more than using it inside of UTAU. It's just that UTAU personally is easier for me, but generally speaking, SetParam is better and faster. So when you UTAU, feel free to use SetParam. You don't need to be like me and be an idiot and do it in UTAU. Now, to me, like now that you have all the files and the means to make an UTAU, you kind of need to do it with every file. Some say you can use other people's UTAUs as a template, which it's not like I say it's bad. It's just every Voicebank, especially with CV, like with other Voicebanks, you may be able to use other Voicebanks as a template, but especially with CV, it tends to be very inaccurate. So I would really say go through every sample and UTAU it. Now this can take quite a while, depending on exactly how many samples you are, how experienced you are. I usually personally take about an hour to make an UTAU, but that's because I've been doing it for years, and it's probably taking longer than it needs to be because I'm using UTAU instead of SetParam. So don't be discouraged if you take less or more time than me, because either you're not really experienced or you're just better at it than me. Anyway, you really need to go through all the files and UTAU them, basically. Thankfully, I don't really need to do that anymore because I already made an UTAU for this. So let me just grab this, put it into my results file, replace it, and if I close UTAU and open it again, you can see here a complete UTAU, but that's because I've spent an hour doing it before the video because I didn't want to bore you guys with, me UTAUing for quite a while. So now that we've done the UTAU, you might think now we can just use it to make songs, right? Almost. We are almost there, believe me. As you UTAUed, you might have noticed these little circles behind the settings, and with the FRQ above it. That basically means that an FRQ file has been generated for this file. Now if you look at it, you notice that there's this red line over the WAV file. That's basically the FRQ files is basically the program has analyzed your WAV file and determined which pitch it's in. It needs to do that so so it knows how exactly to pitch your file on the. It needs to do that when the sample is used inside the UST, then it knows how exactly to pitch it without it sounding weird. Now, if you go to a file that does not have the circle behind it, you notice there is no red line. So that means there is no FRQ file for it yet. If you want to make an FRQ file, you need to click this button, Initialize FRQ Map. Hit OK, and you see there is a circle there now, and a file has been generated. Now, understandably, you don't want to click the button over 100 times just to make a song. So you just click between these buttons, and everything is in Japanese, but don't worry about it. All you need to know is that the top option basically means render, like make FRQ files for every file on the list, and the last one is make an FRQ file for everything, for every file that does not have one yet. It doesn't really matter which one we take. It only really matters if you edited one of the FRQ files, which I will explain in a bit how you do that. But since we didn't edit anything, we can just hit this one and wait for it to finish. This can take a bit, so I'll be back when it's done. Alright, as you can see here, it finished. It doesn't really give you a pop-up or anything, it just kind of stops. So you need to check in at some point and see if it's finished or not. It will just display this message. Just click here. You don't really see the circle around the files, but if you look in the editor, you see the red line, which means that the FRQ file is there anyway, even though the circles are not behind it. Now, if you see the FRQ file doing funny stuff, like just taking a nosedive all of a sudden, if you want to, if you think that the sample itself is fine, it's just a program spazzing out, then you can go here to edit frequency map and select the point you want to edit. You can't edit several points at once, by the way. At least I don't think you can. Just type in the value you want. Click here. Hit this button to save it. And click this one to go out, to get out of the window. Don't forget to click this button before you close it, because otherwise all the things you edited will be gone. Now, sometimes it's also the case that, like here for example, that the frequency map has like a dent or suddenly goes up or down. That usually tends to not be a problem with the program. It's actually the sample is off pitch or not one constant pitch. There is really no easy way to fix it. The only way you can fix it is to re-record it and replace the file. And when you do that, you need to remember to generate the frequency map again. Otherwise, there will be horrible distortions, and you don't want that. Now, okay, now that we have everything UTAU'd, all the frequency maps, we just select the part we want to hear, reset these two buttons, play. It's going a lot faster now, as you can see. Sounds really nice, doesn't it? Now, technically, we are done with making a voice bank, thankfully. But there's one little part I still want to show you. You might have noticed that in the alias bar here, I have an just written in there. Basically, alias is quite literally giving the file it is assigned to an alias, so an alternate name it can be used with. I did mention in the previous video that that there is a way to make a Voicebank able to read both hiragana and romaji, and this is basically the way you do it. You take a file, this one is an E, and write the romaji as its alias, set it, and now it the E can both be read in hiragana and in romaji. The thing is though, you do still need to read Japanese for that. There probably are programs and plugins that can do it for you, like so you don't have to read it all by yourself, since you need to do it for every file, and I don't think anyone wants to do that. But technically you don't really need it. Your bank is already set in hiragana. You do have the plugins. It's not necessary for you to do that, but it is kind of a nice touch and easier for other people to use. So if you want to do it, it would be nice, but you don't really need to. Now, with this concludes both this video as well as my tutorial video series. There's a lot more to UTAU than what I showed you, but this is the basics you need to know to just use UTAU as you please. Everything else there are better tutorials, people who know better that can teach you, and things you kind of need to explore yourself. So I hope this kind of tutorial guide helped you understand UTAU a bit better and kind of get a bit of a firm step into the program. And I hope to see some new UTAU materials, Voicebank covers coming out in the near future. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.